Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hello Daily English.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Today we are doing something very different. Usually we talk about coffee or football or how to be a good neighbor. We like to keep things light.
We do, but we also know that you, our audience, are adults. You watch the news, you read the papers, and you see these massive stories taking over the world. And sometimes it is really hard to follow exactly what is going on, especially in a second language.
Exactly. There was one topic that has dominated conversations for years now. It involves money, power, secrets, and a lot of mystery. We are talking about the Jeffrey Epstein Files.
This is a heavy topic. It is a serious topic, but it is also a story that defined a generation's view of the wealthy and powerful. So today, we aren't going to teach you grammar rules. We aren't going to quiz you on prepositions.
No, today we are just going to talk. We are going to have a long, clear, honest conversation about the entire story. Who was he? What did he do? Who was involved? And what was in those files that were finally released in 2024?
We want to help you understand the full picture. So grab a coffee, sit down, and let's unravel this mystery together.
Emma, where do we even begin? It feels like this story has so many layers. It's like an onion, but a very rotten onion.
I think we have to start with the man himself. Who was Jeffrey Epstein? Because before the scandal, he was this mysterious figure in New York.
Right. He was a financier, but nobody really knew how he made his money. That was the first mystery. He didn't run a big bank. He didn't manage a famous hedge fund. He just had money. Billions of dollars, supposedly.
He was a math teacher originally, right?
Yes, he taught at a private school in New York in the 1970s, and then he somehow jumped into banking at Bear Stearns. He moved up very quickly, started his own firm, and suddenly he's buying the biggest mansion in Manhattan.
And that mansion became the center of his social life. This is the key part of the story, Jack. He wasn't just rich, he was a collector of people.
That is a great phrase, a collector of people. He wanted to be surrounded by the smartest, most famous, and most powerful people in the world.
Exactly. He courted scientists, politicians, Hollywood stars, and royalty. He wanted to be the guy who knew everyone, and for a long time, he was. If you were powerful in the 1990s or early 2000s, you probably met Jeffrey Epstein.
And that is why this story is so explosive. It isn't just about one bad man. It is about the entire network of people around him. But while he was throwing these dinner parties, there was a dark side, a very dark side.
This is where we have to talk about the crimes. We won't be graphic, but we have to be clear. Epstein wasn't just a socialite. He was running a sophisticated sex trafficking ring.
And he wasn't doing it alone. This brings us to the second main character in this tragedy, Ghislaine Maxwell.
She is almost as fascinating as he is. She was the daughter of a British media tycoon, Robert Maxwell. She had status, she had connections. When she came to New York, she and Epstein became partners.
Initially, they were a couple, but even after they broke up, they remained partners in this operation. The accusations, which she was later convicted for, were that she acted as the recruiter.
That is the terrifying part. She was a woman. She seemed safe. She would approach young women, sometimes underage girls, and promise them jobs, scholarships, or modeling careers. She brought them into Epstein's world.
And once they were there, they were trapped. This was happening in New York, in Florida, in New Mexico, and on his private island in the Caribbean.
Little St. James. The locals called it Pedophile Island. It sounds like something from a horror movie, but it was real.
So this was happening for years, but he got caught, didn't he? Way back in 2005 or 2006?
He did. And this is the first major failure of the justice system. This is what makes people so angry even today. The police in Palm Beach, Florida started investigating him. They found evidence, a lot of evidence.
They were ready to charge him with serious federal crimes back in 2008. He could have gone to prison for the rest of his life back then.
But he didn't.
No. He had the best lawyers money could buy, and somehow they negotiated a non-prosecution agreement.
People call it the sweetheart deal. It was unbelievable. Instead of life in prison, he pleaded guilty to a minor state charge. He served 13 months.
And it wasn't even real prison. He was allowed to leave the jail 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, to go to his office and work. He basically slept at the jail and lived his normal life during the day.
And the worst part? The deal included immunity for his co-conspirators. That meant the government agreed not to prosecute any of the people who helped him. It was like a get-out-of-jail-free card for everyone involved.
It was a secret deal. The victims weren't told about it. It was a total betrayal of justice. And after he got out, he went right back to his high society life.
He did. He kept attending parties, he kept making money, he thought he was untouchable. For 10 years, he walked free.
But then, the world changed. The hashtag #MeToo movement happened. Society started listening to victims in a different way.
And a journalist named Julie K. Brown at the Miami Herald decided to look into that old plea deal. She wrote a series of articles exposing how corrupt it was.
That reporting changed everything. It forced the FBI in New York to look at the case again, and in July 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested.
I remember that day. It was huge news. He was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey after flying in from Paris. It felt like finally justice was coming.
He was denied bail. He was put in a Metropolitan Correctional Center, MCC, in Manhattan. It's supposed to be one of the most secure jails in America.
And he was facing sex trafficking charges. The evidence was overwhelming. They found photos, CDs, hard drives, lots of evidence in his safe. It looked like he was going down, and he might take a lot of powerful people with him.
And then, August 10th, 2019.
The day the cameras turned off.
Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell. The official ruling was suicide.
And this, Jack, is where the story splits. There is the official story, and then there is everything else.
We have to talk about the conspiracy theories. We can't ignore them. The phrase Epstein didn't kill himself became a meme. It was everywhere. It was on T-shirts, on beer cans. People shouted it on live TV.
Why do you think people refused to believe it was suicide?
Because it was too convenient. Think about it. This man had secrets on presidents, princes, CEOs, scientists. If he went to trial, he might have named names. He might have made a deal to reduce his sentence by exposing others.
And suddenly, the cameras outside his cell malfunctioned, the guards fell asleep, he was taken off suicide watch just days before? It sounds like the plot of a spy novel.
It really does. Look, the official report says he took his own life, but in the court of public opinion, most people believe he was silenced or allowed to die.
With him dead, the criminal case against him was over. You can't put a dead man on trial. The victims were devastated. They wanted to see him in court. They wanted to look him in the eye.
But the story wasn't over because Ghislaine Maxwell was still alive.
She disappeared for a while, didn't she?
She did. She went into hiding, but the FBI found her in a luxury house in New Hampshire in 2020. She was arrested, and unlike Epstein, she made it to trial.
That trial was intense. The victims testified. We heard the details of how the pyramid scheme of abuse worked. And in December 2021, she was found guilty. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
That was a moment of justice, but people were still unsatisfied.
Why?
Because during her trial, the prosecutors didn't really focus on the other men. They focused only on her and Epstein. People wanted to know who else. Who else was on the island? Who else was on the plane?
That brings us to the files.
Yes, the famous Epstein Files. This is what everyone was waiting for.
Let's explain what these files actually are. They aren't a list of clients that Epstein wrote down, right?
No, and that is a common misconception. People thought there was a secret black book titled People Who Committed Crimes. That is not what was released in January 2024.
These files were actually court documents from a civil lawsuit. Years ago, one of the victims, Virginia Giuffre, sued Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation.
Right. Virginia said Maxwell trafficked me. Maxwell said she is a liar, so Virginia sued her. During that legal battle, thousands of pages of evidence were collected: emails, flight logs, deposition transcripts.
A deposition is when a lawyer asks you questions under oath before a trial.
Exactly. For years, these documents were sealed. That means the public couldn't see them. They were secret. But a judge, Loretta Preska, decided that the public had a right to know. She ordered them to be unsealed.
And in January 2024, they started dropping, batch by batch. The internet went crazy.
So, let's talk about the names, because this is the delicate part. Just because someone's name is in the documents doesn't mean they're guilty of a crime.
No, and we have to be very clear about that. A name could be in the files because 1, they flew on Epstein's plane, 2, they attended a dinner party, 3, a victim mentioned seeing them, or 4, simply because the lawyers asked, "Do you know this person?" And the answer was no.
Right. Being named isn't a conviction. However, the files did paint a picture of who was in Epstein's orbit.
Let's talk about the biggest names. Prince Andrew.
This was the most damaging one. Virginia Giuffre accused Prince Andrew of sexual abuse. She claimed she was trafficked to him in London, New York, and the island.
The prince denied it. He did that famous, disastrous interview at the BBC where he said he couldn't sweat. Do you remember that?
Oh, it was painful to watch. But the files confirmed that these accusations were part of the legal record for a long time. Prince Andrew eventually settled the lawsuit with Virginia for a large sum of money. He didn't admit guilt, but he paid millions, and he lost his royal titles.
Then we have Bill Clinton, the former U.S. president.
His name appears many times. The files confirm he flew on Epstein's plane multiple times. He traveled to Africa with Epstein.
Clinton has always said he knew Epstein only as a philanthropist and knew nothing about the crimes. He denies ever going to the island. The files didn't provide a smoking gun regarding any crime by Clinton, but they confirmed a close association.
And Donald Trump.
He was also mentioned. He knew Epstein in the Palm Beach social scene. There are photos of them together. But interestingly, in one of the documents, a witness said she never saw Trump on the island or involved in the abuse.
It seems Epstein collected politicians from all sides, Democrats, Republicans, it didn't matter. He collected power.
There were other names, too. Stephen Hawking, the physicist, Michael Jackson, David Copperfield, the magician.
Wait, Stephen Hawking? Why was he there?
Apparently, he visited the island for a science conference that Epstein hosted. Epstein loved to fund science. The mention in the files was actually Epstein offering a reward to prove that Hawking didn't participate in an orgy. It was bizarre.
It really shows how weird Epstein's world was. He mixed geniuses with criminals.
So, when the files were released, what was the reaction?
Honestly, I think people were a little disappointed.
Disappointed? Why?
Because there wasn't a shocking new revelation. We already knew Prince Andrew was involved. We knew Clinton flew on the plane. We knew about the scientists. The files confirmed what we suspected, but they didn't give us a list of, here are the other bad guys.
I get that. People wanted handcuffs. They wanted to see police cars rolling up to mansions. And that didn't happen.
No. And that brings us to the frustration. Why hasn't anyone else been charged?
That is the legal question. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, Epstein is dead, but what about the other men who allegedly abused these women?
It's difficult. Proving these crimes 20 years later is hard. Without Epstein's testimony or without video evidence, it becomes he said, she said, and these powerful men have armies of lawyers.
But I think the files served a different purpose. They broke the silence.
What do you mean?
For years, these powerful people relied on silence. They relied on NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They relied on fear. The release of these files showed that secrets don't stay secret forever. Even if you are a prince or a president, the truth can come out.
That is a good point. It shattered the illusion of invincibility.
And we have to talk about the victims, or rather the survivors, because the story often focuses on the rich men, but the real story is about the women who fought back.
Virginia Giuffre, Sarah Ransom, Maria Farmer. These women were ignored by the police. They were called liars by the media. They were threatened, but they didn't stop.
Virginia Giuffre especially. She took on the British royal family, she took on the billionaire class, and she won. Not everything, but she exposed the truth.
It really highlights the disparity in the justice system. If Epstein was a poor man dealing drugs on a street corner, he would have been locked up immediately. But because he was a billionaire giving money to Harvard and hanging out with presidents, the system looked the other way.
It's the two-tiered justice system. One set of rules for us and another set for them.
Jack, let's pivot a bit. Why are we, as a culture, so obsessed with this? Why do TikToks about Epstein get millions of views?
I think it's because it confirms our worst suspicions. We all suspect that the elites are corrupt. We suspect that behind closed doors, terrible things happen. This story proved it.
It's also a true crime mystery. The locked jail cell, the missing camera footage, the private island. It has all the elements of a movie.
But it's not a movie. That's the sad part. Real lives were destroyed.
Let's talk about the flight logs. You hear this term a lot, release the flight logs.
The Lolita Express, that's what they called his plane. The flight logs are the records of who was on that plane.
The logs have been released, mostly. We know who flew, but flying on a plane isn't a crime. The question is, what did they do when they got off the plane?
And that is the secret that died with Jeffrey Epstein.
Do you think we will ever know the full truth?
I don't think so. I think we have 80% of the puzzle. But the final 20%, the specific details of who did what and who knew what, is probably gone. Unless
Unless what?
Ghislaine Maxwell decides to talk. She is serving 20 years. If she wants to get out early, she might have information to trade.
That is the wild card. But so far, she has stayed loyal. Or maybe she is afraid.
It's a dark world.
It is. Okay, let's take a breath. That was a lot of heavy information. Let's try to summarize the timeline for our listeners just to keep it clear in their heads.
Good idea. Let's do a rapid recap. 1990s, 2000s, Epstein makes billions, befriends powerful people, and traffics girls with Maxwell. 2008, he gets caught in Florida but signs a sweetheart deal and avoids real prison. 2008 to 2018, he continues his social life, but he is a registered sex offender. 2019, new charges in New York, he is arrested, he dies in jail awaiting trial. 2021, Ghislaine Maxwell is convicted and sent to prison. 2024, the court documents, the files, are unsealed, naming many famous associates.
That is the arc of the story, from untouchable power to total disgrace.
You know, Jack, looking at this story linguistically, there are some interesting words that became popular because of this case.
Like grooming.
Yes, grooming. This is when an abuser builds a relationship with a victim, gives them gifts, and gains their trust specifically to abuse them later. It's a psychological process.
And complicit.
To be complicit, it means you didn't do the crime yourself, but you knew about it and you didn't stop it. You helped by being silent. A lot of people in Epstein's circle were complicit.
And recruiter, the person who finds the victims.
And settlement. This is when you pay money to stop a lawsuit. Prince Andrew paid a settlement. Epstein paid settlements to victims years ago to keep them quiet.
It's a vocabulary of corruption.
It is. But I think it's important to know these words because this isn't the last time a story like this will happen.
Unfortunately, you are right. So, what is the takeaway here? What should our listeners learn from this conversation?
I think the lesson is about critical thinking. Don't just read the headline. Prince Andrew named in files. Sounds like he was arrested, but you need to read the details. What does the file actually say? Was it an accusation? Was it a flight log?
Context is king, in English and in news.
And also the power of investigative journalism. Without that reporter at the Miami Herald, Epstein might still be partying today. It shows that asking questions matters.
Absolutely.
Jack, I have a question for you. Do you think the release of the files in 2024 actually changed anything, or was it just a media circus?
That is a tough question. In terms of arrests, no, it didn't change much. Nobody went to jail because of the files released in January.
But in terms of reputation?
Oh, it destroyed reputations. Being associated with Epstein is now a permanent stain. It's the scarlet letter. Even if you didn't commit a crime, if you were hanging out with him, people look at you differently now.
The court of public opinion is harsh.
It is. And maybe that is the only justice we will get, the shame.
It's better than nothing.
I want to ask our audience something. This is a global story. Everyone around the world knows these names.
Yes.
Question for the audience.
How was this story covered in your country? Was it big news or was it ignored? And what is your opinion on the conspiracy theories? Do you trust the official story?
That is a great question. Please let us know in the comments. We want to know how this looks from the outside.
Also, did this story change how you view famous people? Do you trust celebrities less now?
I know I do. I am much more cynical now.
Cynical. That means you tend to believe that people are motivated by self-interest. You are skeptical of good intentions.
Exactly. I assume there are secrets everywhere now.
Well, that was a heavy episode, but I'm glad we talked about it. It's real life.
It is. And part of learning English is being able to discuss the hard stuff, not just the weather.
Speaking of weather, it's looking a bit cloudy outside.
Nice transition, Jack, bringing us back to normal life.
We try.
Before we go, let's just remind everyone, if you found this conversation interesting, even if it was a bit sad, please give us a like. It helps us know what kind of topics you want.
Do you want more deep dives into news stories, or do you prefer the grammar lessons? Let us know.
We are here for you. We can talk about AI, we can talk about the economy, we can talk about history. You tell us.
Thank you for sticking with us through a long, complex story. Your English listening skills are getting better every minute you listen.
Dealing with complex topics like trafficking, litigation, and settlements is advanced level stuff. You should be proud of yourself for following along.
Definitely. Take a deep breath, shake it off. Go watch a funny cat video now to cleanse your brain.
Great advice. We need a palate cleanser.
A palate cleanser. Originally, a small bit of food like sorbet to clear the taste from your mouth between courses. Now we use it to mean something happy to wash away sad news.
Go find your palate cleanser.
Thank you, everyone. Stay curious, stay critical, and keep learning.
We will see you in the next video, hopefully with a lighter topic.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.